Empire Tales. Miyamoto Musashi, the Immortal Duelist. Imagine a man who fought over 60 life-and-death duels and never lost a single one. A man who began his journey as a wild, violent teenager and ended it as a legendary philosopher warrior, writing the ultimate guide to strategy from a lonely mountain cave. He was a master of the blade, a calligrapher, and a painter who believed that the way of the sword was the way of life. This is the incredible saga of Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest samurai who ever lived, a man who transformed himself from a beast into a saint of the sword. Part 1. The Wild Youth of Miyamoto. The story begins in 1584, in a Japan torn apart by civil war. Musashi was born into a family of minor samurai, but his childhood was far from noble. His father was a harsh man who frequently beat him, and Musashi grew up with a heart full of rage and a body built for violence. He was large for his age, unkempt, and covered in scars from skin diseases, a wild boy that the villagers feared. At the age of 13, Musashi fought his first duel. A traveling samurai named Arima Kihei had posted a challenge in the village. Despite being a mere boy, Musashi accepted. He didn't use a steel blade. He rushed his opponent with a wooden staff, tackled him to the ground, and beat him to death. It was a brutal, unpolished victory, but it was the start of a path that would lead him through the bloodiest decades of Japanese history. Part 2. The Turning Point, Sekigahara and the Path of the Shugeyosha. In the year 1600, the fate of Japan was decided at the Battle of Sekigahara. Musashi fought on the losing side, surviving the massive slaughter only to find himself a hunted fugitive. He spent months hiding in the forests, living like a wild animal. It was during this time that he met a Zen monk named Takuan Soho, who saw the potential beneath Musashi's murderous rage. Legend says the monk hung Musashi from a tree for days to force him to reflect on his life, teaching him that strength without a mind is merely a weapon of destruction. Musashi emerged from this ordeal with a new purpose. He became a Shugeyosha, a wandering warrior on a spiritual and physical quest for perfection. He vowed to travel the length of Japan, challenging the masters of every famous sword school to test his skill. He stopped bathing, stopped combing his hair, and focused entirely on the art of killing, believing that any distraction was a weakness. Part 3. The Destruction of the Yoshioka School. Musashi's fame grew as he defeated master after master. His most famous early campaign was against the Yoshioka family in Kyoto, the most prestigious sword school in Japan. He defeated the eldest brother with a single blow of a wooden sword. He then defeated the second brother, who had challenged him out of revenge. Finally, the entire Yoshioka school, hundreds of students, planned an ambush to kill Musashi at the Ichijoji pine tree. They brought bows and muskets, expecting a fair duel. But Musashi, a master of psychological warfare, arrived hours early, hid in the shadows, and struck like a lightning bolt. He cut down the leader of the school and fought his way through the massive crowd, using two swords at once, a long one and a short one, to defend himself. This became his signature style, Nitten Ichiryu, the school of the two heavens as one. Part 4. The Final Duel, Ganryu Island. By 1612, Musashi had only one true rival left, Sasaki Kojiro, known as the Demon of the Western Provinces. Kojiro was a master of the laundry-drying pole, an exceptionally long sword that few could counter. Their duel was set to take place on the remote Ganryu Island. Kojiro arrived on time, dressed in fine silk, confident in his victory. Musashi, true to his style, arrived hours late. He had traveled to the island in a small boat, carving a massive wooden sword from a spare or during the journey. When he finally stepped onto the beach, he looked like a beggar. Kojiro, insulted and furious, drew his long blade and threw his scabbard into the water. Musashi smiled and said, "Kojiro, you have already lost. If you were going to win, you would need your scabbard again." As a massive wave crashed against the shore, they charged. Kojiro's blade cut Musashi's headband, but Musashi's heavy wooden oar struck Kojiro's skull with the force of a falling mountain. Kojiro died instantly. Musashi, instead of celebrating, felt a profound sadness. He realized he had killed the only man who truly understood his art. He bowed to his fallen rival and sailed away, never to fight a duel to the death again. Part 5. The Book of Five Rings. In his later years, Musashi became a counselor to powerful lords, an architect, and a celebrated artist. But his greatest legacy was written in the final weeks of his life. In 1645, sensing his death was near, he climbed to a cave called Ryagando to meditate. There, he wrote the Book of Five Rings, Go Rin no Sho. It was not just a book about how to swing a sword. It was a masterpiece on strategy, timing, and the human spirit. He divided it into 5 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and void. He taught that once you understand the way broadly, you can see it in all things. Whether it was leading an army or painting a landscape, the principles of focus and discipline were the same. Part 6. The Way of the Warrior. Miyamoto Musashi died in his cave at the age of 61. He died standing up, holding his sword in one hand and his cane in the other, a warrior to the very last breath. He left behind 21 precepts for his students, known as the Dakoto, or the Way of Walking Alone. His most famous advice: do nothing which is of no use. Legacy: the Saint of the Sword. Today, Musashi is a cultural icon in Japan and across the world. He represents the ideal of the philosopher king, a man who mastered the most violent of arts only to find peace and wisdom. He proved that true strength is not found in the sharpness of a blade, but in the clarity of the mind. He was a man who lived outside the boundaries of society, walking his own path until he became a legend that time could never erase. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the life of the Immortal Duelist. If you find inspiration in the discipline and spirit of the samurai, please subscribe to Empire Tales, like this video, and join our community of history enthusiasts. The past is never truly dead. It is just waiting to be told.